The tortoises known for their exceptionally large size are the Galapagos giant tortoise, the largest living tortoise species, and the Aldabra giant tortoise, both massive reptiles reaching over 4 feet long and hundreds of pounds, living for over a century, with shells and body shapes varying by island and environment. Galapagos giant tortoise size can exceed 4 feet, 1.3 meters, in length and weigh over 660 pounds, 300 kilograms. Habitat: native to the Galapagos Islands, with different subspecies evolving unique shell shapes, domed or saddle-backed, for different island conditions. Key fact: one of the longest-lived vertebrates, with lifespans often exceeding 100 years. Aldabra giant tortoise size: the second largest tortoise, with males reaching over 4 feet, 122 centimeters, long and 550 pounds, 250 kilograms. Habitat: found on the Aldabra Atoll in the Seychelles. Key fact: also known for its longevity, living up to 150 years or more. These two groups represent the surviving giant tortoises of the world, descendants of mainland ancestors that evolved to enormous sizes in isolated island environments. Giant tortoises, especially the Galapagos giant tortoises, are endangered, with several subspecies critically endangered or vulnerable, facing threats from habitat loss, invasive species like pigs and rats, and historical exploitation, though major conservation efforts are helping populations recover. Conservation status: critically endangered. Several subspecies, including the eastern and western Santa Cruz tortoises, are critically endangered. Endangered and vulnerable. Other surviving species are classified as endangered or vulnerable. Extinct. Some island populations, like the Pinta Island tortoise, Lonesome George's subspecies, are already extinct. Main threats: historical exploitation. Whalers and buccaneers drastically reduced numbers for food. Invasive species: introduced animals like rats, pigs, and goats prey on eggs or destroy habitat. Habitat loss: agriculture and expanding human settlements encroach on their land. Climate change: a growing concern for their future survival. Conservation efforts. Breeding programs. Captive breeding and reintroduction programs have successfully boosted numbers, with thousands of tortoises released back into the wild. Ecosystem role. As ecosystem engineers, their recovery is vital for maintaining the Galapagos Islands' biodiversity. Ongoing work. Organizations like the Galapagos Conservancy and Galapagos Conservation Trust continue to work on restoring populations and ranges. In essence, while significant progress has been made, most giant tortoise populations remain threatened, requiring continued protection to secure their future. There are two main types of giant tortoises: Galapagos and Aldabra, with varying numbers. Galapagos tortoises total around 15,000 to 20,000 across 13 species, down from 250,000, while Aldabra giant tortoises have a large population of about 100,000, primarily on Aldabra Atoll, representing the world's largest population. Conservation efforts have brought some Galapagos subspecies back from near extinction, though many remain critically endangered. Galapagos giant tortoises. Total: roughly 15,000 to 20,000 across all species. Historical versus present. Once over 250,000, numbers plummeted due to human exploitation, food, oil, and invasive species like rats and goats. Species status. Most of the 13 remaining species are endangered, with some, like the Fernandina tortoise, having fewer than 10 individuals. Conservation success. Species like the Espanola tortoise have recovered from just 15 individuals to over 2,300 due to removing goats and repatriating offspring. Aldabra giant tortoises. Total around 100,000. Location. The largest population lives on the Aldabra Atoll in the Seychelles, benefiting from protection. In summary, while Aldabra tortoises are numerous, Galapagos giant tortoise populations are much smaller and critically threatened, though conservation is helping. Giant tortoises, especially those in the Galapagos Islands, are highly endangered, with some subspecies extinct and others classified as critically endangered, endangered, or vulnerable due to historical exploitation and ongoing threats from habitat loss and invasive species like rats, pigs, and ants. Conservation efforts, including captive breeding and reintroduction programs, have helped, but many populations remain fragile, with some subspecies lost forever, like the Pinta Island tortoise. Current status of Galapagos. Giant tortoises extinct. Two subspecies, Floriana and Pinta, are extinct. Critically endangered, 6 species including the eastern Santa Cruz tortoise. Endangered, 3 species. Vulnerable, 3 species. Main threats, historical overexploitation. Whalers and buccaneers decimated populations for food. Invasive species, introduced animals like rats, pigs, and ants prey on eggs and young. Habitat loss, agriculture and introduced feral animals destroy vegetation and habitat. Human-tortoise conflict. Overlapping ranges with human-inhabited areas create new challenges. Conservation efforts. Captive breeding. Young tortoises are raised in facilities like the Charles Darwin Research Station until they are strong enough to survive in the wild. Rewilding. Successful releases have helped populations rebound, but numbers are still far below historical levels. Protection. Strict protections are in place, with ongoing research to manage threats. Why they matter. These tortoises are crucial ecosystem engineers in the Galapagos, impacting plant life and overall biodiversity, making their survival essential for the island's health. Humans can help giant tortoises by supporting conservation groups through donations or volunteering, protecting their habitats by reducing pollution and invasive species, making responsible tourism choices in places like the Galapagos, and advocating for sustainable land use to minimize human-wildlife conflict, all crucial for these slow-reproducing, vulnerable giants. Direct support and action, donate and volunteer. Support organizations like the Charles Darwin Foundation or Galapagos Conservancy, which fund research, captive breeding, and habitat restoration. Responsible tourism. Choose eco-friendly hotels and adhere to park rules when visiting tortoise habitats to minimize your footprint. Participate in programs. Engage in keeper experiences at zoos that support conservation efforts, or join volunteer projects in the Galapagos. Habitat and species protection control invasive species. Help remove invasive plants and animals, like fire ants, that compete with or prey on tortoises and their young. Notes the Charles Darwin Foundation and People's Trust for Endangered Species. Protect nesting sites. Support monitoring and protection of crucial nesting areas, as highlighted by GCT. Rewilding. Support projects that restore natural ecosystems, creating more space and food for tortoises, says Galapagos Conservation Trust. Mitigating human-wildlife conflict education. Support efforts to educate locals and tourists about tortoise needs, says the Charles Darwin Foundation. Land management. Advocate for sustainable land use and research to reduce conflicts where tortoises encounter farms or roads, according to the Galapagos Conservancy. Reduce plastic. Minimize plastic use to prevent pollution in tortoise habitats. Notes Galapagos Conservation Trust. Long-term solutions, captive rearing. Support programs that raise hatchlings for several years until they are stronger, increasing their survival chances when released. Notes Galapagos Conservancy. Genetic research. Help fund studies to maintain genetic diversity in captive and wild populations. Notes Galapagos. Please like, share, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Thank you.